Hey, what's going on? What the hell, guys? I made a whole video praising your dumbass comments on The Shining, and nobody watched it. There was an issue before when I initially posted it. There was an issue with it, but still, I was shocked that nobody nobody was interested. There were so many thoughtful, interesting, and stupid comments on that video that it was totally worth it. When I talked about The Shining and Stanley Kubrick, it was totally worth it to make an entire video just about those comments. It was actually a fully produced video. Like, it had music and visuals to accompany everything and all that, and then 10 people watched it. So, much appreciated. Back to the standard delivery device here. There's also another video. It was about the book Bad Therapy by Abigail Schreier. And it goes through that entire book and talks about the ideas that she brings up in there and some of the most important ideas that we have right now related to why therapy isn't working for kids and what needs to be done to try to help and try to fix that whole problem, ameliorate all of the very negative trends that we've had for a very long time. So it's a good book. At least if you don't watch my review related to it, at least read the book, Bad Therapy by Abigail Schreier. Everybody has a responsibility to understand these things. So anyway, the thing that we're actually talking about, The Beast Within, is a 2024 movie. Just came out. It's an hour and 37 minutes. It's a rather lean watch. Directed by Alexander J. Farrell. It's on Hulu. That's where I saw it. It was the top movie that was streaming on Hulu for a little while, so I had to check it out. And Kit Harington is the star. It also stars Ashley Cummings, and we'll talk about him. But Kit Harington is a weird one because I like the guy, but I feel like there's something weirdly vacuous about him. It's like he just shuts off, and there's just a script that runs through him, and there's no personality that comes out of that. It's so odd. I don't know if he's just dead inside from Game of Thrones, but it's frustrating because I want him to do well. I want him to be a legitimate actor. But every time I look at him or see him trying to deliver lines, and even when he's trying to express an emotion, it's like there's nothing actually behind anything. So I don't know what's going on with him, man. But there's also Ashley Cummings. I don't know who she is. I haven't seen her before. But she was over the damn top. Oh my god. I heard the budget just ballooned out of all proportion because she kept eating the sets. It was a little much what she was doing in this. And then there's a child actor, of course. Her name was Cowlin Springle, which is one of the dumbest names I've ever seen in my life. She needs a stage name, but she's not much of an actress, so maybe it's not going to be something that she has to worry about. But she's a kid also, so I mean, she's a kid at the center of a major release. So I'm not going to give her too much crap. I think with just a little bit of training, a few classes, get a good somebody that she could take some tips from, whatever. She'll be fine, and she'll eventually work into it. Not everybody can be Natalie Portman at 12 years old, knocking it out of the park. So, next, I just want to get through these technical movie things really quickly, so we can get to what I actually want to talk about, where the meat is, the really interesting stuff, and that's the, metaphor, story, character stuff. The director has 5 director credits, I think. One of them was short. One of them was a TV movie. I think he had one major actual movie. But it was... I had never heard of it. And then this one. And I'm not sure. I think it's just the beginning of the guy's career. He got a shot, and he got some actors behind it, so he took his shot. Don't begrudge him that. The cinematography was fine. Colors weren't too bad. It made sense when it comes to cinematography for the subject matter. It made sense. So that wasn't too bad, but they didn't use CG, which applaud to the end of time that they didn't use CG for most of what's going on. They probably used it to touch up and all that kind of thing, but it wasn't like a CG giant monster that was coming for you. From what I remember, at least, because it was difficult to pay attention at times. So it was a costume. For the moments that I remember, they actually used a costume. I applaud. It wasn't exactly the labyrinth. There was a lot of dark and implied character moments. It's stalking around in the next room. It's like, I'm in the bedroom, cowering, and it's in the kitchen. And then I move to the den, and it's in the bedroom. And then I go hide in the attic, and it's waiting in the car. It was not usually in the vicinity of the actual person. They use CG, I'm sure, for transformation scenes. Because it's ostensibly a werewolf movie, but we'll get into that. So, just so we're clear about where this is when we're moving into the story plot metaphor section of this analysis here, the cover of this thing, it's called The Beast Within, and the cover says, Protector, Provider, Predator. Most likely, anybody who's listening to my videos has an above average IQ and understanding of story and structure and character. So, obviously, if you just see the title, you would know a lot about what's going on here. We've talked many times about themes and metaphor and how great films can weave plot and story and character and metaphor into a whole that makes sense and is profound and meaningful. I tore men apart for not being subtle or clever enough, and I'm gonna have to officially apologize to men for... No, I'm not gonna apologize. Never mind, I take that back. But this movie's called The Beast Within. So the moment that you see that, you know that, okay, metaphorically has something to do with the anger inside men or alcoholism or abuse or something like that that's lurking within men. It's dealing with that. You don't need to watch the movie to be able to get that much of the thematics. But this movie is one of those where it's pretending to try to be metaphorical and clever, where it does not have the intelligence to be able to do that. It's like it bashes you in the head with a mallet when it comes to the metaphor and the underlying idea about what this is. And it's saying that protector, provider, predator on the cover is just like, Jesus Christ. Underline it, outline it, there's a glow there. It's just like a really bold font. Kerning and character spacing drew plenty of attention to them stating exactly what this stupid metaphor is for this movie. And it's really frustrating. It's really frustrating how not subtle it is, how much it bashes you over the head. Because even things like, we just got done with Halloween, so the Nightmare on Elm Street, it's not actually about a knife hand dream hacker. That's not what it's actually trying to explore. It's really about our sins chasing us via the subconscious. And that's how it's expressed. The Exorcist, it's not actually about a demon inhabiting a girl. It's about our failure as parents and adults and how that can inflict our children without us realizing it or wanting it to happen and not knowing how to fix that. Backdoor Sluts 9. It's not really about sexual gratification. It's about returning the One Ring to Mordor. So The Beast Within just doesn't understand metaphor or film. It's ostensibly a werewolf movie where the dad turns into a werewolf, mom gets hurt, she has bruises and stuff that the kid sees when mom's changing at one point. And the kid eventually learns the truth about the family and how that all works. But the metaphor gets minced up in all this. At one point, Kit Harington's character, the father, tells his daughter, the child, that it's something that's in the family, and so the kid learns the truth about it, so it seems like it's genetic and it could pass down. And later the kid's all worried that it's something that she's going to have to worry about turning into this evil wolf thing. So it inculpates the girl in the metaphor. So from a plot point, it could just be a plot element of, we have this thing and now we have to worry about the girl turning into a monster later and eating people, and that's how that's going to affect her relationships or whatever else. But from a metaphor standpoint, it's inculpating the girl in what abuse means, in what being a domestic abuser means, which doesn't make any sense. She's the victim being affected by domestic abuse. If you're trying to say that she's also going to be a domestic abuser, it has really undermined your idea of the metaphor and her as a victim. So as a contrast, this is something that makes a hell of a lot of sense to contrast with. It's a movie that's also called Beast, not The Beast Within, but just Beast. It was a 2017 movie, we already talked about it. And it was a movie that did this kind of thing well. It wasn't about a werewolf, but it was about a man who did horrible, beastly things and a girl who was trying to figure out whether he was the one who did it and what to do if that's the case. So the point in that is it's about that kind of beastly inclination that men can have, and what do you do about that? But the thing was that it also treated her as a potential beast because she acted horribly throughout the movie. There were times where she was just terrible. And it was a matter of, okay, why is she attracted to the kind of man that would be a beast like this? And what does she have to do to get out of that cycle, to get away from that kind of a thing? So she's not trying to defend this kind of person, and she's not acting out in the ways that a beastly person would. It was a much more subtle way to weave that metaphor in and try to understand that idea of men doing terrible things and how to come to terms with that. Now, in this movie, The Beast Within, the little girl, she doesn't do anything, pretty much, but she definitely doesn't do anything wrong. She's just witnessing the things that are happening. So metaphorically, there's nothing that would inculpate her into being a beastly person or horrible or something she has to come to terms with as a character. It just doesn't come up. There's actually one scene that was hilarious. So they're just out. It's father-daughter time, and they're out hanging around. They're playing games and doing this goofy thing where they have this speech and it's supposed to be another underlining of the metaphor, but it's just stupid. But anyway, so they get back to the truck and he's like, "Oh, you hungry? You want a sandwich?" And he gives her a sandwich. And then he walks around to the driver's side for some reason and then comes back. And he had found a dress or something that she bought at some point, her mom bought for her. But anyway, so he comes back and she's eating the sandwich. She's like, "Oh, God, this is actually pretty good." And he slaps her. He's like, "F*** your sandwich." Slaps it out of her hand and starts yelling at her. I was like, whoa, man, what the hell? But that really is an example of how subtle this movie is when it comes to the metaphor. It's just, it doesn't understand how to do this. Another example of this is the fact that the girl has these fantasies. The little girl has these fantasies about the family being happy together, and there were these times where they were all super happy and just hanging out. And it's all bright, the cinematography is different, everybody's smiling. It's just family being together. So I wish we could have those times again. But that could make plot sense. If there was some intervening act that made him into a horrible person or turned him into a monster, then that could make plot sense, that she wishes they could go back to that time, but things have changed. Now they're in this time. But when it comes to the metaphor, it doesn't make sense, because when it comes to an abuser, the whole point is that they have, the metaphor would suggest, this is something that's more ingrained. It's something that happened to them as a child and something that they always have. For when it comes to a werewolf, it's DNA. It's something they inherited. So the point is, he's always been this monster, and it's something that you've had to deal with all the time. But the happy scene of them together implies that something happened thereafter to make him into a monster, instead of he's always been a monster and they're trying to deal with that fact. Because metaphorically, the whole thing is that there is a domestic abuser, and when you have this idea culturally or psychologically, it's that people ingratiate themselves in the situation. They just say that they make excuses about, this is the reason he's doing it, or this or that, or we just have to stop inciting his domestic abuse, that kind of thing. They lie to themselves about what the relationship really is. But in this case, they don't explore that in any way. They don't set it up. They don't give us ideas to work with when it comes to the way the child acts or what she thinks, or the way the wife acts or what she thinks. It's just really, really dumb representations of the metaphorical idea of domestic abuse that are just clumsily represented within the plot structure. This is another one. Jesus Christ, they don't understand metaphor. So the monster toward the end is trying to break through a gate, because they literally take him to a place where they chain him up when he turns into a werewolf, rather than thinking of some clever idea to make it still more metaphorically and plot significant. But he's trying to break through this gate, and she's standing at it. She's like, "No, we're done, man. This relationship isn't gonna work anymore, because you're turning into werewolves now." So it's just, they don't get how to be able to tell this metaphorical story as well as the plot-driven story at the same time. It's just too much for them. So at the end, you have this 40-minute chase scene where there's zero tension because they have not established anything properly, and they're just running through the house, and the grandfather character keeps trying to sacrifice himself, but the woman just won't let him, and a lot of times just in really stupid ways for stupid reasons. The car won't start at the end when they're all in the car after the guy already got stabbed. The grandfather character already got stabbed. He tried to sacrifice himself, but he's like, "Oh, I'm not dead. What the hell?" So they go and save him and get him into the car, but then the car's not starting. And he's like, "All right, this is my chance. I'm gonna sacrifice myself now." And so he's like, you guys run through this gate and close it where you're going to be safe, and I'm going to stay here to sacrifice myself. Come on, all right. You're a bad storyteller. So it just goes on, and it doesn't mean anything new, obviously. It's just them being chased, and the ending of it, the whole culmination of this entire movie. Again, it's only an hour and 37 minutes. It felt like 3. It was so annoying. But the whole point, you get to the end, and it just explicitly shows Kit Harington's father character just in the cave, but not a werewolf. So it's, no, look, it was a metaphor the whole time. It's like, Jesus Christ. Guys, we get what movies are. Even the dumbest moviegoer would understand what the symbology is when it comes to this movie. You don't have to explicitly show, no, look, we took off the makeup. He's not actually a werewolf. That's not what we were saying. No, it's like he was mad and he was abusive, and that happens in real life. Dude, mind blown, right? It's so stupid. How dumb do you have to be to not have that already grasped by the time you read the title? I don't know. I don't know who this is for. Anyway, yeah, it was a terrible movie. It was not well done at all. The visuals were fine, like I said. The actors, no big slight to them. They were dealing with a goofy script, goofy director. They'll be fine after this. I'm sure the little girl will go get some training and do fine. Like I said, I am pulling for Kit Harington. I'm pulling for this man. If you know any movies where he's actually put in a good performance, please let me know. I want to watch them. But anyway, yeah, that's the Beast Within. I don't know what my strategy is when it comes to YouTube, because I pick these obscure movies that only the people who like them are going to search for them, and then I get bombarded with people who loved the movie because they want to talk about it more, but I just trash it. It's such a terrible strategy for YouTube, but I don't know. I just want to talk about the movies that I want to talk about, and that's just the way it is. So anyway, hope all is well. Yeah, I'm going to be doing a lot more books coming up, and I know nobody watches those at all, but that was the whole point, is to read books and analyze them and talk about them and get the ideas, get discussions going about complex ideas. But it is fun a lot of times to just take it easy and do one of these kind of movies. I'm going to have a few more movies coming up next, and hopefully they're a lot of fun, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. And otherwise, I will see you on the next one. All right, subscribe. All right, see ya. Bye.